Pool party start today at 5, 6 o'clock. If you already got the address, pull up, man. You got the address, pull up. If you need the address, DM me right now. The pool party start at 5, 6.
Many of you likely thought that was Foolio's actual last moments before he died. Unexpectedly, however, a nurse has revealed information about his final moments in the hospital that no one had before heard. What she disclosed gives the narrative a completely new dimension. They left him bleeding out while laughing in the hallway. The nurse reportedly told a colleague after paramedics rolled in an unconscious body at 5:42 a.m. The body was that of Foolio, whose real name was Charles Jones Jr., a rapper known for his music and ongoing disputes. Unfortunately, he died on his 26th birthday. Now, formerly silent hospital employees are speaking up, and their stories point to something much more troubling.
Pool party start today at 5, 6 o'clock. If you already got the address, pull up, man. You got the address, pull up. If you need the address, DM me right now. The pool party start at 5, 6 o'clock.
That pool party ended up being Foolio's last public appearance prior to his passing. After just 12 hours, gunfire was heard in the Holiday Inn parking lot next to Busch Gardens. Police announced that one person had died and that 4 others had been shot. Foolio was that victim. However, the media's coverage of it seldom touched on the truth. They presented it as a normal shootout, omitting important details from those who were present. This was not an accident, witnesses say. Rather, it was a premeditated ambush that was executed with almost military accuracy and motivated by months of monitoring his activities.
Oh, this guy, I'm surprised he didn't get killed earlier. You know, he's desecrating people's graves and talking about dead people and all that. You know, he got what he deserved.
This response wasn't a one-time event. According to Boosie, who has a personal history with law enforcement, cops frequently respond in this manner. When rappers like Foolio are killed, he said, many members of the police force silently rejoice. It involves more than just upholding the law. It involves a pervasive prejudice toward street artists. Some cops don't feel sorry for someone like Foolio, Boosie explained. For them, he's simply another street rapper. He argues that attitude is a reflection of a far larger problem with the way the system perceives some lives.
Like they be happy. I know one dude they walked straight on there like, they finally got him. They finally got you.
Foolio wasn't just fighting for his life when he got to Tampa General with 4 bullet wounds, including one to his chest. Those who were supposedly not interested in protecting him were all around him. In order to protect her career, the trauma nurse asked to remain anonymous. She added that the emergency room personnel had never seen a patient with that many wounds, still conscious. Although his voice was too weak to complete it, she said Foolio even attempted to speak, mouthing a phrase that sounded like, "Don't trust." Within 10 minutes, he died. What's really upsetting, though, is the way the hospital staff acted when he passed away. Other nurses in the break room reportedly laughed after hearing a male technician say, "One less gang member to treat."
Everyone's going to prison for like 20, 30 years, life. Someone may even get the death penalty.
It was a surgical setting. According to reports, the suspects left their phones at home in order to evade GPS tracking in 2 different vehicles. The bullet pieces found at the location were identical to those found in other unsolved murders. Clear evidence of planned intent was presented by the Cash App transactions that were subpoenaed. Combined with the 4K security footage taken from neighboring Teslas, this wasn't just any shootout. There is no other way to describe this if it wasn't a deliberate hit. When Foolio died, it wasn't an isolated incident. It was the end of a protracted, increasingly intense tale of treachery, retribution, and constant surveillance. The more you look into it, the more you realize that this was a personal matter. Not merely who fired the shot is the true enigma. It's the number of individuals that were aware of this event before the first gun was fired. Let's now discuss the girl who found out where he was. She is currently purportedly collaborating with detectives in an interrogation room, pregnant, and attempting to make a deal. It has been reported that she was present that evening within the hotel, in the space. Also, Vlad affirms that she is disclosing identities. It makes all the difference. The adversaries of Foolio were directed directly to him, not by chance. Foolio was shot in the foot by one of the suspects, who was reportedly 18 years old. He reportedly spent 3 hours driving that evening in order to complete the task. Numerous shootings, including one that occurred a few weeks prior to Foolio's passing, are now being connected to this same teenager. This was no time for aspiring gangsters. Loyalty, prestige, and technology were the main drivers of this wider, continuous conflict. As the world concentrates on the ambush and the identity of the shooters, a more sinister tale is being ignored. What transpired after Foolio was taken to the hospital? Speaking anonymously, a hospital porter asserted that security had begun downloading CCTV footage from the ambulance bay within 30 minutes of Foolio's passing. And why? The Tampa Police Department allegedly demanded it right away. He claimed that the officers were hostile, agitated, and comical about Foolio's dead body when they came. A chilly allusion to Foolio's notorious diss track, When I See You, a remix of Fantasia's ballad in which he named his deceased Jacksonville competitors. Including BB Techie, was made by one person when they remarked, "I wonder if he's still smoking on BB now." Its frightening contrast soft melody, hard lyrics, and the brutal honesty that underlies them are what made the song go viral. Nevertheless, Foolio wasn't merely rapping for influence. Having seen trauma firsthand, he was pulling. He talked candidly in a sit-down interview with No Jumper about being shot at the age of 15 as he was stepping off the school bus. What inspired the song was that suffering, that dread, that truth. Sadly, it's also what turned him into a target.
I got hit on my hip. It broke my hip. Hell yeah. I mean, that shit was just crazy how that shit happening, bro. Cause that whole day when I was in school, I got in an argument with a couple people, like a couple boys off in the fight and shit, hopped on their bus. I was just on some arrogant shit, bro. I wasn't really thinking, cause I'm 15 years.
Take it in. He was shot at the age of 15, crawling for his life. And the neighborhood treated him as if he were unimportant. It was survival through music, not only provocative. When Foolio later rapped about his deceased ops, lyrics that are retaliatory, a strategy for regaining control in a society that left him bleeding on the streets. The suffering, however, didn't end there. When he was only 15, Foolio's younger brother was likewise murdered by the cops. He was troubled by that loss. Even in his last interviews, Foolio talked about the paranoia of being flagged in police systems, where all of the officers already considered him a threat. He had to avoid gunfire, endure continual harassment, and be barred from venues. That was his life. He was unable to perform and even breathe comfortably. All his songs were banned by a sign posted by a strip club in his hometown. Something related, not just him. Just a few months before his death, Foolio even shared that proof on Instagram. The reality was that intense. The whole story is thus overlooked when people claim that he invited the drama. He didn't start the cycle, but Foolio was caught in it, and he never truly left it, not even in death, in many respects. The media and the institution that was there to protect him did not treat him with any dignity. But investigators didn't remain silent, even when the hospital let him down and the newspapers ignored the true story. A manhunt was already underway behind the suffering and controversy, one that was quick, sophisticated, and targeted. Giulio Foolio's murder was not your typical street tragedy. The advancements in technology for tracking and solving violent crimes were demonstrated in this case. And it's being solved by that same tech. The type that shooters use to follow their best. Where's the reset 'em Ruby kiss? Ruby kiss, only Ruby kiss. As the luxure is, text hissed, my lonely sexture that glides on smoothly, and leaves a rich long last clays. Where's one last classly loss as sieve? Why we live. It's quat, palex, we live sis, we live slice. We live sit with us. You wheeze it, we live. We live silip, we sizz, we live. We azad, it we lid. Put, puck ed. By so not to me to we list kai li les ska li to see kai go by you sit sikipikits I ma like sit and I could set to is a kid it's it at the back. Targets is the same. A decade ago, it would have been impossible for Tampa police to access a digital gold mine within hours of the murder. They had everything, including surveillance footage, license plate readers, and phone logs. And it wasn't just shaky footage from hotel hallways. Video from several sites provided investigators with a complete account of that night. Teaser's Gentlemen's Club, Truth 18 nightclub, the Holiday Inn, and even Tesla's internal cameras were all monitoring the area. Every action was recorded, giving prosecutors a minute-by-minute timeline they could watch like a movie. What did they spot? It wasn't coincidental. The planning was military in scope. These were hunters, not renegade. Shooters. They patiently tracked Foolio from location to location throughout the night, much like seasoned pros. They made the discovery after examining the digital trail that was left behind. License plate readers recorded the defendants' hours spent driving from Jacksonville to Tampa, demonstrating beyond a doubt that this was a premeditated crime. These Florida highway cameras produced a virtual breadcrumb trail that the suspects were unable to remove. And then the damaging cell phone data arrived. The shooters had been using GPS and monitoring Foolio's social media accounts to follow his whereabouts in real time, according to phone records. Right from their phones, they established their own surveillance network. They were now being used against Foolio, the same instruments he had used to market his music. Once they dug deeper, investigators discovered that they had been keeping an eye on Foolio's Instagram account for any developments. So he handed them the last piece when he advertised his birthday party location. That GPS ping sealed his doom. The motivation was revealed as soon as the cops pieced together the digital puzzle. This was a gang response, not just a pick fight. Foolio was the KTA and 6-block representative. For years, the accused were involved in a violent feud between opposing sets, a TK and 1,200. Part of a larger cycle, the hit was 10 years of killing back and forth had already claimed too many lives. However, the speed with which law enforcement captured their targets was what most surprised everyone. They arrested people within a month. Isaiah Jermaine Chance, age 21, was named as one of the suspects by Tampa Police Chief Lee Burkhall. Alicia Andrews, age 21.18-year-old Shaw Andre Gathright. They were heavily charged, and their names were public. The way they were removed, however, was what truly made the internet buzz. Together with Tampa Police, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office made sure that these arrests were as accurate as the actual crime. They awaited the ideal time, which came on July 27, 2024, during a violent downpour. Law enforcement arrived in force. Whole tactical equipment. The early hours of the day, they captured it all on body cam film. Under flashing lights, suspects were dragged from their residences after raids at many different sites. Like a scene from a movie, the footage was dramatic, incisive, and quite realistic. Without hesitation, officers advance, sweeping every location with well-honed cooperation. Immediately, social media exploded. It was claimed that you already know it's over when they come for you in that kind of rain. The supporting evidence was much more compelling than the striking images. Not all of the prosecutors' theories were conjectured. They had digital traces, car data, footage, timestamps, and admissions. The situation was tense. Only the enemies of Foolio had not simply ambushed him. They had devised a whole plan for doing him in. However, the track they left behind was so intricate, that it was impervious to rain.
Since our last interview, Foolio has gotten killed, and 5 people were involved, 4 guys, 1 girl. The girl's pregnant currently.
No.
Which makes it even crazier. One of the guys, when they were arresting him, I guess he had a gun to his head. Did you hear this whole story?
In a move that seemed incredibly careless. One of the suspects had actually retained physical mementos from the murder, which connected him to the scene of the crime. In a case already awash in digital evidence, it was a logically absurd strategy. Errors like this only made the prosecution's case stronger. However, the true pivotal moment occurred within their own social circle. One of the participants chose. To assist investigators, law enforcement gained an inside look at the entire plan's execution thanks to this collaboration. And with that, everything began to fall apart.
So she's already spoke to them and confirmed, oh yeah, we were here. Oh yeah, we were at the hotel when he got hit, but we didn't know what was happening. We were lost.
The police were given first-hand information by her on the planning and execution of the entire operation. Social media turned out to be a key component of the arrangement. The gunmen were actively monitoring Foolio's Instagram, using his own posts as a means of tracking him. He provided them with more ammunition to use against him each time he disclosed his whereabouts or activity. They set everything up cleverly, but then they became careless. They exposed everything using the same technology they used to plan it. They were defeated by their digital trail. The 30-year-old Rashad Murphy and the 27-year-old Davon Murphy were still at large. Rashad surrendered on July 30, 2024, following a confrontation. Prior to his capture in January 2025, Dave remained evasive for several months. In this case, the amount of evidence was insane. Not only was there video and data from their phones, but there were also car plate scans, social media receipts, items from inside their residences, and even one of their employees flipping. The type of case that made prosecutors' jobs simple was this one. Nothing had to be guessed. Everything was in perfect alignment. The arrests were as outrageous as what transpired in court next. As of January 7, 2025, all suspects were in custody. After 6 months on the run, Dave Murphy was the final person to be taken down. And the prosecutors weren't holding back. Rashad Murphy, Sean Gathright, and Isaiah Chance were to be executed, they declared. They didn't think Alicia Andrews played the same role though, because she wasn't on that list. Perhaps she was only a driver. Despite their best efforts, defense attorneys were unable to disregard the overwhelming weight of the video evidence. They made a strong case with the help of the videos, phone logs, and even items they discovered at home. At the same time, the hip-hop community was attempting to understand the significance of all of this. Rappers were accustomed to rap feuds, but even the veterans were taken aback by the explosion of diss tracks immediately following Foolio's passing. Only a few hours after the murder, Young Yen Ace released Do It, which sparked a contentious internet discussion, the extent of rap feuds and the responsibility of musicians for the energy they generate in their songs were both seriously questioned. That was not the end of it. Cohen Kinnis released another song, Game Over, in July 2024, which maintained the suspense. According to some, it was simply a component of the rap game, while others felt it was excessively harsh. At Foolio's funeral, the incident that truly demonstrated how deeply ingrained this culture was occurred. His diss song When I See You was performed by his own family during the service. A lot was said by just one motion. Even in death, the meat took center stage. It had captivated entire communities and families, not just rappers. He continued to be in the public eye even after his death. He began sharing odd material on Instagram once more. With the comment, "I'll never die." He was photographed as The Undertaker in one picture. That post had admirers going crazy. A demigod. He may have even staged his death. Some began to speculate. Police and family, however, attested to his actual disappearance. The posts were most likely the work of his family or team, who wanted to maintain his reputation and create excitement for his upcoming posthumous album release, which would completely upend the status quo. The last album by Foolio Demigod was released on September 23, 2024. It included Treyboy and Project Youngin among its 17 tunes. It was an impactful farewell for some. Some thought it didn't receive the publicity it merited. Still, it served as a reminder of the ability that had been lost. His legacy gained another chapter thanks to the album. The drilling scene back in Jacksonville felt the change. PD8, a producer, expressed his hope that Foolio's passing will encourage musicians to concentrate on more constructive endeavors. Referring to the current music violence trend as pure ignorance, he suggested that this loss might awaken individuals and change the culture. Still, there was a lot of enthusiasm in the streets. They simply changed. The beefs didn't end. More bloodshed ensued, including the tragic 2025 killing of a 7-year-old. Authorities remained vigilant. Retaliatory assaults will not be accepted. Sheriff T.K. Waters issued a warning, but no single case could capture the essence of the true issue. Still, there were gangs. That hatred remained. The system they originated from remained unchanged until a few names were removed from the board. The streets have not changed much, despite the arrests and thorough inquiry. Still, the same wars continued. Young lives continued to be influenced by the same culture. The passing of Foolio became a testament to the progress made in both real life and rap. Everything was related: the headlines, the music, and the violence. Justice was swift, but mending would take time. The narrative of Foolio didn't simply conclude with an album or death. It made people more aware of how deeply the cycle runs and how little has changed in reality.
I want to applaud the investigators from Tampa PD and JSO for their committed, collaborative work to bring violent criminals to justice. What I saw in this partnership evidenced the very best of information and resource pooling to ensure public safety.
There were also serious concerns raised concerning the public's access to police materials when the body cam film went viral. It demonstrated the officers' handling of the matter, on the one hand. On the other hand, it transformed a serious murder inquiry into entertainment for web platforms. Justice began to take on the appearance of entertainment. The same technology that made Foolio's death and the arrest of his killers part of the never-ending flood of news on social media also helped solve his case. The family didn't view this as merely a case or a story. The private suffering of Foolio's loved ones and the accused families was made public. The real-life story is a documentary that Foolio's mother said she was working on to reveal the true nature of her son. She wished to disrupt the online cacophony and fake news families encounter. A greater problem when a loved one's name goes viral, which is reflected in her determination to speak the truth. Their sorrow is suddenly part of the world. Another example of how social media has impacted contemporary crime investigations is this case. Foolio's own Instagram posts were used by his murderers to follow him around. An intended sharing platform became a targeting tool. It's frightening. It makes you question how safe people are when they post things online. The subject of whether social media corporations are doing enough to shield users from being stalked in real life because of their quits. Because of their quit, mate safe quit. Long-lasting color. It makes you question how long-lasting color. It makes you question how safe may quiff. Made say quit. To see him with saying to say, a pesset you make. May quit, like made meg, said by said. We say said, we so whiff. To say it all cad, by we as it get. It's it, kose kik color to sa kako kasits gedeko be with it set to sistika supply to rease it to the coca the it kak look speaks Posts is also brought up. What exactly are we meant to learn from all of this? It's not like Foolio died in a parking lot anywhere. A system that had already abandoned him was where he passed away. He was dying in a system where those who were supposed to help him were caught laughing. Foolio's last moments were hardly quiet, as we now know thanks to that nurse's whistleblowing. He spoke for a moment. What he was trying to communicate may have been a name, a warning, or even a farewell. Because of this, the story is still ongoing. Never in the streets, never in the courts, and never in the culture. For the true questions were never simply who pulled the trigger, but rather who helped, who did nothing but stand by, who remained silent knowing. The case of Foolio opened eyes, not simply a file. Furthermore, his journey doesn't finish here until those more significant questions are resolved. It's only the start of something much louder.